Erin Hunter is a very successful author thereof, even though Miss Hunter is herself something of a fantasy. She's the pen name of a kind of collective of authors who write those books. Among those who write Erin Hunter is Gillian Philip, or she was until she made the mistake of tweeting the hashtag I stand with J.K. Rowling. She's since lost her job, lost her agent, been fired by HarperCollins, and is now driving a lorry. Gillian joins me now. Gillian, you're pushing back against this by actually taking these fellas who've basically wrecked your life. You're taking them to court.
Yeah, with the help of the Free Speech Union, I'm trying to I'm claiming at the Employment Tribunal for discrimination. So, I'm just crowdfunding for that now.
You've had a rough time in the last few weeks because your husband died just a month ago, just last month, and then all this descended. Are you? Carry on. You're about to correct me?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, this happened back in 2020. So it was June 2020 when I had this Twitter mob come after me. Basically, I've been working for Working Partners since 2011.
Right.
And I'd had a Twitter account since before then. And I'd always been quite opinionated. I am quite opinionated, not abusive, just like I have lots of opinions. And I'd always put my opinions. And they'd always followed me. People from HarperCollins, people from Working Partners had always followed me. And they'd never complained. They'd never objected. They knew what all my opinions were. So when it came to the Twitter mob in June, my husband died in that year in May 2020. And it was just a little earlier than that, I think, that it didn't actually, I really can't blame J.K. Rowling. It was all my own doing. I'd actually started out by defending a writer called Rachel Rooney, who's a friend of mine. And that was what first me really riled up. She's a children's author. She had basically been driven out of the publishing industry by a really nasty, vicious clique of other children's writers. They had just bullied and defamed her until she felt she had.
Let me ask you about that, because the BBC's just come up for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. They've just come up with a list of 70 British authors that you should exemplify the best of the Queen's reign, and it seems rather odd that J.K. Rowling is not on that, given that she's the most successful author to have emerged in these 70 years. And so there's clearly a move at the highest levels in the publishing industry to disappear her, as they've disappeared you and they've disappeared Rachel Rooney and so forth and so on. I mean, what do you get from a publisher takes, 90, whatever it is, 90% of the proceeds, 85% if you sell a little more, and then won't stick by you because of the hashtag you choose. Who the hell are the British publishing? These guys, when I had truck with them, they were like gentleman fellows who'd take you for a good lunch or whatever. Now they're woke interns who hate your hashtag. Who needs these guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, the publishing industry is in a pickle. It's a pickle of its own making. The thing is, publishers, book bloggers, online reviewers, Goodreads, publishers thought they were going to get cheap, free reviews out of this and free publicity, and there'd be no downside. The downside was that these people started to believe that they couldn't just comment on the quality of a book, how readable it was. They decided they could comment on what writers should be writing about, what writers should be thinking, what writers should be saying in public. The very first Twitter mob that happened to a writer, the publishers should have laughed it off and said, okay, you didn't like what they said, it's fine. Okay, that's your opinion, this is ours, we are the publishing industry, we stand for creativity, freedom of expression. They didn't do that. They caved and they rolled over, and they've been caving and rolling over ever since. And they've kind of got themselves into this spiral now where they can't get out of it. And I think it's not what the publishing industry is supposed to be. and they know there's a problem, but they just don't know what to do about it. They're being run basically by online trolls, by their junior staff, who are mostly like middle class, white, very privileged, and they cannot stand up for their writers and for free expression, and it's actually tragic. I mean, as I say, that my publishers and the packagers working partner, they knew what my opinions were. I'd had discussions with one of the senior editors publicly on Twitter about this issue previously, and they never told me to stop. They never complained. It was only when the mob came along. They are terrified of mobs. So once that mob happened, I was done for. Yeah, they didn't even get back to me. They didn't. You know, HarperCollins didn't call or ask for my side of the story. They just said you're out. And some of these,
absolutely contemptible. You know, well, it's absolutely contemptible. And just to go back to when they were still Collins, and as I said, these tweedy gentlemen publishers would take me to lunch at the Garrick Club once in a while. And I remember somebody saying to me back then, a long time ago, said, oh, publishing is the business for people who shouldn't be in business. Well, actually, what they're doing right now exemplifies that. Toby Young, whose Free Speech Union is backing you. You can say a lot of things about Toby Young, but he's a man of principle, and he will stand with you in a way that someone like the HarperCollins crowd won't. So I wonder if it's maybe time for some of us who are committed to freedom of speech to get together and actually launch some publishing houses of our own.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, because they just don't seem to want to do anything about it because they're so scared. I don't know how you would start a new publishing house. I don't know where you start with that, but it can't go on like this because the writing that's coming out, especially children's writing, it's because they're not writing for readers. We used to say, are you writing for readers or are you writing for yourself? And nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing either of those anymore. Writers are writing for an imaginary future mob who could pick up on anything. They could pick up on the smallest thing in your book and absolutely tear your career to shreds over it. Run it past all the sensitivity readers you like, and they don't all agree with each other either. But someone can still pick up on something small. So it's resulting in this kind of fearful, dishonest writing. And, the Victorians would blush at the moralizing didacticism of today's children's writing. We used to laugh at them, but children's writing is much more moralizing now. It's always,
oh, no.
This is how you will behave. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I never cared much for the Water Babies, but that guy had a hell of a easier time. Now 99% of the body of the great canon of literature wouldn't pass the test of these hideous woke totalitarians. We're going to stay with your case, and we're going to have Toby on and the Free Speech Union, and we're going to follow this thing, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being told I can't do a hashtag. A hashtag vaporizes the entirety of my work. It's absolutely ridiculous. Lots of luck to you, Gillian. Good luck with that case. We're going to stay on top of this. Let's